Top 10 Crazy Realities of Hotel Life During the Coronavirus Pandemic. I work at a Worth lodging in the piece of the world that serves the Ark, the Creation Museum, the Cincinnati Reds, and other occasion spaces in the zone. The area has been developing, lodgings have been jumping up like insane, and numerous local people considered the to-be business as an extraordinary spot for profession versatility. At that point the coronavirus occurred. Presently everything has changed. For certain lodgings, business has dropped to 10-20%, best case scenario, of what they were doing, and things look incredibly inauspicious. In spite of the logjam, it has likewise been fantastically riotous. Everything is terrifying and flighty every day. Here are 10 real factors of life in the inn business during the coronavirus pandemic. 10. Lodgings are essential, but layoffs and hour cuts are still happening. In the insane age of the coronavirus, lodgings have been considered fundamental. In any case, that doesn't guarantee going great for inn organizations or their representatives. Albeit numerous fundamental administrations have seen a spike popular, inns haven't taken interest in the flood as the travel industry is at a stop everywhere throughout the world. Numerous inns would prefer not to manage increments in joblessness protection. So they are attempting first to cut the hours of their representatives before laying individuals off. Be that as it may, greater inns are regularly faring so ineffectively because of a prophetically calamitous misfortune in inhabitants that they must choose the option to lay off workers. A few foundations close to Disney World are furloughing individuals left and right in light of the fact that the end of the recreation center has left some 1,000 room inns at just 1% inhabitants. At that rate, they can scarcely stand to keep the lights on, substantially less keep on paying every one of their representatives. With respect to Las Vegas, many retreat inns have closed down in light of the fact that an enormous measure of their cash originates from the club business. This requires bigger social events of individuals to be effective. More than anything, they are essentially gaming spaces with a lodging joined. Without gaming resorts, there is no reason for remaining open. 9. A few hotels are offering special home office rates for daytime stays. At any rate, one lodging up until this point, Red Roof Inn, is offering a weekday unique from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. to utilize their lodgings as a home office space. This offer is entirely modest, running at somewhat under $30 every day for your impermanent office space. They even permit one other individual and one pet. Presently this is half off most daily rates for that kind of lodging, yet they're presumably not offering full luxuries. Probably, they don't anticipate that the visitor should utilize the bed or the shower. No morning meal, either. Be that as it may, this is still very modest. The individuals who are scanning for home office space should investigate this or different inns that may before long offer comparative arrangements. To escape from everything and have your own workspace for $30 daily is genuinely modest, particularly if the children are home because of isolate and you can't think sufficiently long to complete your work. 8. Telephones have been ringing off the hook with cancellation calls. When the quantity of COVID-19 cases heightened pointedly, social occasions began to be restricted and inns over and again got the most noticeably awful sort of calls, abrogations. For the initial a little while of the COVID-19 flare-up, the telephones were ringing free at my inn. That was likewise valid at numerous different foundations. Everybody was getting dropping calls for remains that ran from just a couple of days ahead of time to those in pre-fall. Inhabitants dropped like a stone for the time being. The chiefs and proprietors of numerous inns are presently panicked that, best case scenario, they will make back the initial investment for the year. Be that as it may, that is the ruddy case and improbable to occur. Numerous inn representatives are somewhat damaged now. Some have arrived at a state of tired abdication, realizing that most residual calls will even now be retractions. We're all simply trusting that our inns don't need to close for all time and that we don't need to search for new openings. There is likewise the concern of having your hours cut. Despite the fact that the U.S. Congress passed a boost bundle to help with joblessness benefits during the coronavirus pandemic, it can at present be hard to apply for and get the cash in a convenient way. What do you do while you're pausing? Not many spots are procuring, particularly low-maintenance laborers. 7. Breakfast services are suspended or greatly limited at most hotels. As the COVID-19 episode spiked altogether, one of the primary things to change was the manner by which nourishment was served. To follow stay-at-home or haven set-up orders, cafes shut their inside lounge areas. So you need to utilize conveyance, curbside pickup, or drive-through on the grounds that get-togethers of in excess of a couple of individuals are currently restricted. This left a ton of lodgings in an abnormal hazy area. They don't know whether they are appropriately agreeing to the law or not. Most states didn't utter a word explicit about lodging morning meals somehow, albeit a few states were indistinct about whether a morning meal buffet was adequate. Accordingly, some administrators thought about whether mainland morning meals were still all right as long as just a couple of visitors accumulated without a moment's delay. In the interim, a few foundations have closed down these feasting alternatives altogether, regardless of whether they don't serve any hot nourishments. It hasn't helped that the specialists have not given a lot of direction or explanation on the issue. Out of a wealth of alert, most lodgings have suspended their morning meals or are offering to-go packs. In the event that you have to visit a lodging for business or something, you should call them first to check whether they, despite everything, have any sort of breakfast choices. That way, you'll know whether you have to prepare for the following morning. 6. Individuals are trying to get rock-bottom prices when hotels are already struggling. Numerous individuals realize that movement has been suspended in many spots, that individuals aren't gathering, that a great deal of excursion goals are shut, and that most inns are doing unimaginably severely at the present time. Truth be told, they may keep on performing inadequately for the remainder of the year. In any case, similar to everything business, an inn isn't a foundation and visitors don't consider their business a cause, either. With all the individuals coming up short on cash at this moment, the individuals who do require a lodging are searching at absolute bottom costs. This makes room deals super competitive. Right now, a few lodgings are offering such low serious rates that they chance losing cash on their rooms since they are not accepting enough income to cover all the overhead. Some inn proprietors accept that having a more full house will look better to their lenders. By the day's end, however, any inn that is selling outright presently is scarcely earning back the original investment and may even be working at a little misfortune. 5. At the point when prices go down, many criminals come to stay. As we've referenced, inn costs have cratered. Subsequently, street pharmacists, whores, and other ne'er-do-wells see these absolute bottom costs as an incredible chance to utilize lodgings as the base of activities for their organizations. Numerous addicts who need a spot to crash during a high are likewise enticed by the low costs. On the off chance that this wasn't sufficient, numerous urban areas are currently paying to set up vagrants in lodgings during the pandemic. They should remain inside, which is the general purpose. Be that as it may, a considerable lot of these individuals are not self-isolating. Rather, they are stumbling into difficulty. The issue stretches out past lodging the destitute. They, despite everything, need cash for nourishment, and some are attempting to score drugs. Others simply have side hustles. They need to set aside cash with the goal that they won't be destitute for eternity. In spite of the fact that it is incredible to give the destitute a spot to isolate, they essentially don't have the assets to simply remain inside lodgings for a considerable length of time. They absolutely don't have the interruptions accessible to them that the greater part of us have, aside from TVs in their rooms. To exacerbate the situation, numerous vagrants have psychological instabilities. Simply giving them homes without giving the assist they with requiring may uncover or even reason bigger issues. 4. Some hotel workers have made themselves paranoid wrecks over the virus. Like anybody on the bleeding edges, some inn laborers have made themselves jumpy wrecks over getting the infection. Before at long last stopping, one of my associates was wearing another pair of gloves after each client and wearing a cover when the CDC was all the while saying it wasn't fundamental, in spite of the fact that we know better at this point. She was likewise frightening the visitors, who were anxious about the possibility that she was wearing a veil since she had the coronavirus. In spite of the fact that you need to be mindful so as to abstain from getting the infection, it is additionally essential to put together your activities with respect to good judgment and not simply distrustfulness. Wearing gloves can help, yet you likewise need to wash your hands after you take them off. You can't contact whatever's conceivably tainted and afterward contact your face, or the gloves are pointless. They can without much of a stretch give you a misguided feeling that all is well and good. Likewise, your neurosis can worry you and lower your invulnerable framework. Despite the fact that laborers clean continually, wash our hands like insane, and take a ton of insurances, there is a point where your strategies to purify become relentless frenzy clearing that just dries out your skin with no extra medical advantages. 3. Business is almost impossible to predict even day to day. As expressed in the presentation, I work at a Worth Inn. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, I could work the morning shift and foresee what number of visitors we would have before the day's over, plus or minus 5 people. That is genuine in any event, for inns with bunches of stroll-in guests. Indeed, even on days when we weren't doing that well or when it was a moderate season, business was generally unsurprising every day. When you know the progression of your business, you build up a sense for how things will go. In any case, this pandemic has made a huge difference. Because of undoings, the criminal component, individuals going at last to return to their places of inception, vagrants, and numerous different elements, the lodging business has gotten difficult to foresee every day or even hour to hour. The Worth Lodging where I work has around 115 rooms. At the present time, we are occupying around 20-40 rooms per night. It is practically difficult to anticipate inhabitants or which days will be better or more awful. 2. Visitors are much chattier because everyone wants to talk about the pandemic. You will get some effusive visitors at an inn, yet the vast majority simply need to do their business and jump on their way. In any case, the pandemic has changed all that. Clients and representatives the same normally empathize about the infection. Truth be told, normal visitors who were never effusive are currently talking substantially more. This infection has terrified a considerable lot of us. By examining what's happening, we have that human association that can comfort a few people and cause them to feel better. Contingent upon the individual lodging representative, this can be either cleansing or upsetting. Some like the opportunity to discuss the pandemic. Others are now hearing enough about it on the news and grinding away. These representatives simply wish they could disregard the infection for a couple of moments. Shockingly, when you work in client support, it is an aspect of your responsibilities to visit individuals up and be thoughtful regardless of whether you wish you could simply request that they please quit discussing the pandemic. You are as of now worried enough over it. The future is uncertain, no one knows if or when things will be normal again. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, lodging proprietors and representatives are apprehensive about the fate of inns. Numerous proprietors are persuaded that this monetary year will be a finished wash. Hitting break-even is the new objective, on the off chance that they can even oversee it. To exacerbate the situation, nobody is certain how terrible this will be for the lodging business in the long haul. Truly, a few lodgings and inns will consistently exist since individuals need a spot to remain. In any case, others oblige visitors who are visiting resorts and different attractions. After the finish of the pandemic, we may see a long-haul change in how individuals cooperate at occasions, in huge groups, and with different gatherings. The Internet is such a useful asset, that we may see progressively virtual amusement come out of this. Perhaps, just littler gatherings will be permitted to assemble, even in resort towns. Regardless of whether the law permits, things may never return to ordinary if general mentalities change. This could be genuinely ruinous for the retreat lodging industry, as around 95–99% of their business would be for all time gone. Much the same as each circumstance including the pandemic, we can just put forth a valiant effort as we hold back to perceive what will occur. The world may not change that much in the long haul. In any case, it's difficult to anticipate now, and the vulnerability can be startling.